Great. So welcome to the webinar. We're going to go through kind of some of the successes and achievements of the SDG Teach In 2023 this year, talk through some case studies, and also have a bit of a reflection on the campaign and kind of everyone's different experiences of it. So really grateful for you joining us this afternoon. Before we start, just a tiny bit of housekeeping. So please do keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking. We're recording the session, as I said. We will send out the slides and any links that we talk about after, as well as the recording to everyone who's signed up to the webinar. Because we will be doing some kind of interactive stuff, please make sure your name is displayed as the name you'd like to be used. So you can do that by just clicking the three dots on the top right corner of your picture. Please do use the chat box to ask any questions or give any comments. We'll do our best to answer as we go through, but we'll also have a time at the end for our own reflections in breakout rooms, but also to kind of ask some questions as well. So please do use the chat box as we're going through to kind of engage in the conversation. And we'd like to ask you to introduce yourself in the chat box. This is a great place for us all to learn from each other as well. And you are all the people who have been involved in the SDG teaching and actually rolling it out in your own institution. So please do take a minute to introduce yourself in the chat. That can just be your name and your institution, or it can be more detailed. And we can kind of look through those as we're going through the intro. So, bit of an overview of what we'll cover today. We're going to just do a bit of an intro to SOS-UK, just to give you a bit of background of who we are. And then we're going to look through the stats and achievements from the 2023 Teach In. We're going to look at this year's leaderboards. So hopefully there's some people here who were from those institutions. We can celebrate you. Have a look at a few case studies. And then have a look at kind of the SOS-UK programs that support with embedding sustainability into learning after this. So some opportunities for you to think about things you might get involved in to progress this work, or ideas you might take away. And then we're going to have a bit of time to reflect. So we're going to go into breakout rooms and talk a little bit about some reflective questions of our own experiences of the teaching. And finally, we're going to finish with talking about the report launch and the 2024 SDG Teach In. So I'm sure many of you are aware of who SOS-UK are, but just to give you a very, very quick overview, we are a education charity focusing on sustainability. We're working towards kind of three main aims. So to get more students leading on and learning about sustainability, to embed sustainability in formal education from early years to adult learning, and to make sustainability more inclusive so it's for everyone. So those are kind of the three things that SOS-UK are doing, and one of those things that we do is work with you all over 1 month to run the SDG Teach In campaign, which is like a first step to thinking about how we start embedding sustainabilities in our learning and teaching through the SDG framework. Great, so I'm going to pass over to my colleague Rajneet to talk through some of the statistics and achievements from this year's Teach In.
Thanks, Mel. So the next couple of slides will be about the SDG Teach In 2023, looking at the statistics and achievements. So the campaign has had a bigger reach than ever before. So with the 2023 campaign, so the highest number of educators taking part, and the highest number of students reached, and higher number of institutions taking part since the campaign's inception in 2018. So there were 1,284 educators pledging to incorporate the SDGs into their teaching and learning, and there were 121,912 students, learners reached through lessons, workshops and tutorials, and there were 128 educational institutions taking part, including schools, colleges, universities, student unions and training providers. So looking at the SDG Teach In campaign growth, For number of educators pledged this year was 1,284, and for numbers of students reached by the year, which is 121,912. So the campaign's been growing each year since its inception, and along with its pledges of educators and from students, and it's grown by 200% since 2018. We lost some smaller institutions, so educators increased, but the range of students widened, but not their NEC number. We need partnerships for the goals, and we need to work together, and we can't do that without you guys. So we thank you all really for showing out for this year. For our aims for next year would be getting 1,500 educators, and we're hoping for 200,000 students. And we want to continue to grow the teaching, and we wish for the teaching to be the main catalyst for institutions to continue to embed the SDGs long after the campaign. And we encourage all educators to insist on education for sustainable development in all areas of the curriculum. For the global reach for the SDG teaching, majority of educators were around 95% were from the UK. Teaching took place in 23 countries across 4 continents, and it's one of the largest international reaches yet. So for some of the countries being UK, Ireland, Belgium, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Mexico, India, Philippines. Some of the countries on there also included Bangladesh, Oman, Taiwan, Malaysia, Indonesia, and United Arab Emirates. So reaching all stages of education, 69% of pledges were made by educators within higher education, 26% within further education, and 1% within primary and secondary education. So looking at number of educators pledged by education type, HE was 69%, FE was 26%, which was a rise of involvement for further education, and secondary education was 11%. Looking at number of students reached by education type, higher education was 62%, further education is 28%, and adult learning and community education being 4%. For looking at different courses, the most popular subject area was business and administrative studies. So 468 pledges equaling to 22%. 26% of educators felt their courses did not fall into any categories mentioned. So for businesses was 168, other were around 202 pledges, and for education was 113. If your course fell into other, you can put it in a chat box and to let us know what courses were they, why did they fall into the other category. Next slide, please. Thank you. For looking at the different types of courses from countryside management to creative advertising, it was all included within the SDG Teach In. So the word cloud on this page shows the breadth of subjects, disciplines, and areas of learning taking part in the 2023 campaign. Engagement from such a diverse range of courses and modules demonstrate the widespread support of the sector for sustainability-focused education, and it shows the importance of interdisciplinary action achieved by the SDGs. So just a couple of workshops that were included, some were countryside management, animal studies, accounting and finance, creative advertising, health and social care, nutritional therapy. One of the modules were climate change and scientific and societal impact, beauty therapy, and marine science. And looking at one of the popular goals within the SDG campaign, goal 3, good health and well-being, was the most popular, and that followed quality education being the second popular, and the climate action being third most popular. Next slide. I'll pass on over to Sasha.
Hello. I don't know if you can see me or hear me. I've just had to jump into another room. I've been asked to talk about how we mobilise educators with the campaign, and I actually spoke about this in the Sustain FE group last week or the week before, if anybody was in there. So just to kind of introduce our stance from the college, we have a sustainability officer, which is me, which most colleges don't have. But I've been engaged with SOS previously, in previous roles, and as a student as well. I was very aware of the campaign when I was in university, and realised that it maybe wasn't as accessible to us in FE as it was in HE. So I really wanted us to get involved, and realised that we didn't have, I don't think, any educators that had pledged to the campaign beforehand. And as I joined in October, we didn't have really much time to get running with the campaign. So my first point of call was to have all of our staff have a refresh of what the Sustainable Development Goals were, and pledge to the campaign if they wanted to. So I did this with a development day that we had in February, and we had every curriculum staff member have a workshop that was created by myself around the SDGs and how they can incorporate this into their lessons or workshops, tutorials for whatever kind of educator they were. And then they were invited at the end of the session to pledge to the campaign, say what they were going to do, network with each other in the room. And if they did do that and they came and showed me their pledge, and if it was substantial enough, I'm not a teacher, so I wasn't too critical. But if it was suitable, I gave them a badge. And as it has been asked of me before, the badge was made out of some kind of recycled material, not entirely sure, but I only had a month to source them. But it was a great kind of incentive for staff to pledge, which is again something I learned in education, is staff love a badge, which was brilliant. The reason I kind of did it to all staff with the same kind of workshop is so that they could make it relevant to themselves and their courses that they delivered, as well as their audience. So I'm not an expert, obviously, in every course, so it was really impactful for them as well, just to build their sustainability knowledge in general. After that, I then offered kind of support to the staff that were looking to embed the SDGs within their teaching throughout March. So I obviously just opened an open contact, kept frequent communication. So with the SOS emails that went out, I kind of modified them to go out to staff as well and offer that extra support. And then also used our official communication channels that were internal, just to kind of offer that additional support, see what other people were doing. If there was maybe a certain course in a department that were really excelling, then other people could contact them, for example, and that was really useful. And then as we moved into the campaign, as I'm sure a lot of people on here I'm connected with, I love a LinkedIn post. It was all about celebrating what staff and students were doing, and I was really overwhelmed with how much staff were doing, and I apologise to the SOS team for the amount of emails that were probably coming from our staff with case studies. It was something quite new to them, which was really exciting, and the response that they got from students was absolutely wonderful. So I felt it was incredibly relevant to kind of celebrate their achievements and the wonderful sessions that they were running. It was really inspiring, not only for us, but for other colleges as well. So amongst all of this, I was also hopping onto networks, showing other colleges how they could get involved outside of the standard route, where it was quite organic for educators to sign up and pledge. And that worked really well. And it was really, really nice to see. I know some staff members in the college were really keen to get to number one, but it wasn't about being at number one. It was really nice to see other colleges kind of emerging on the leaderboard and rising, which was absolutely fantastic. And that kind of social media reach had follow-on impacts as well. So, for example, we had a few educators that were doing this almost in every single lesson, and they got really recognised within the college, and other people have gone to them, and they're still, I think some educators probably didn't know the campaign ended in March, and they're still doing things and hashtagging it as SDG Teach In, which is just absolutely fantastic. But again, it really boosted their confidence with the subject, and everyone's really excited to do it next year. And obviously we'll probably not get number one on any of the leaderboards next year, because I really hope this approach goes far and wide. But even so, the fact that they're kind of ready and they're already planning their lessons is absolutely wonderful. So it really wasn't for us about kind of staying in this this little Barnsley College FE bubble. It was about spreading it, which was really wonderful. And I noticed the picture of my badge got shared on a few different channels. So hopefully, if anybody wants to make their own badge, go for it. I'm really not a graphic designer, and I did that in about half an hour on Canva. But yeah, it went really well for us. It's still being talked about as one of our amazing achievements. It's really adding to our other ESD goals as well. It really helped with the mapping tool as well. Obviously, I know SOS, you guys do your own mapping through Responsible Futures. We're also using the ETF mapping tool, which I know a few other colleagues on the call use as well. It was really useful for that, because I think colleges especially, the curriculum is quite broad, and it's maybe not obvious where sustainability and the sustainable development goals link in with the curriculum, but the SDG Teach In really helped with that, because they were able to kind of look at their curriculum and see, well, what have we done before that links to maybe good health and well-being, or maybe we can replicate that or build on that for the teaching. So again, a really useful tool, and we're really looking forward to it next year. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Sasha, and thanks to you and everyone at Barnsley College for such brilliant work this year, and for sharing that, which was really great. I'm now going to pass over to my colleague Beatrice to talk through this year's leaderboards. You're on mute.
Sorry, still on mute. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Yeah, so we're just going to go through this year's leaderboards. So we've done really well, and I think what's really great about the leaderboard overall, it's a really good mix of different levels of institutions. That was one of the things I really liked to see this year. So this is the final leaderboard that we had, and well done to all of the different universities, colleges, for really putting in the work to be on the leaderboard and really push the SDG teaching within your institution. So we had Chesterfield College at the top at number 1 for the number of educators that had pledged at the institution, Barnsley College coming in 2nd, De Montfort University coming in 3rd, and I don't need to read through the whole list, I'm sure you can see it there, but yeah, just really fantastic work, really big well done to all the educators that pledged to make this happen. And in terms of students reached, so the number of students reached, and this is based on basically how many students each educator had said they would be able to reach with the work they were doing on the SDG teaching. So based on that, we've had Barnsley College coming at the top at number 1, then Westview Primary School, number 2, which is really fantastic to see a primary school on there, shows that, this message is kind of spreading through all the different levels we need to get it to. Heart of Worcestershire College at number 3, Chesterfield number 4. Again, I don't need to read through all of the list, but I'm really happy to see, School of Arts on here, primary schools, colleges, and universities. That's really diverse, and it's really important that we're having that reach across multiple levels of education. So well done, everyone. I'm now going to read through a couple of case studies, just to show you, the different types of ways people have incorporated the SDG teaching into their teaching, etc. And also it might give people ideas for future SDG teaching. So yeah. And so first up, we've just got this case study from Barnsley, and this was the approach to their teaching within their BTEC National Diploma in Business. So I'll just read it out. It says, as part of our business BTEC program, our learners have been looking at the importance of the Equality Act 2010 in customer service and in business as a whole. Within this, we have covered the 9 protected characteristics of age, gender, race, religion, marital status, maternity/pregnancy, disability, sexual orientation, gender reassignment, and disability. We've got that on there twice, but that's fine. Investigating how different businesses respond to and incorporate the Equality Act 2010 into their business and delivery of customer service, linking to the legal requirements and the consequences. A discussion was formed and a debate was completed around gender equality within the workplace. So I think that's just really important to, take something that's maybe not necessarily always thought about, like gender equality within that space of business. It's really important to be able to highlight that. And I think that was a really good use of, you know, a range of SDG teaching, looking at inequalities, looking at gender equality. I think it's really important. So one of the business students, Eva, actually said, gender equality and equality and diversity as a whole within business is a key and important topic. Employee or customer, everyone should have equal opportunities for success and a life free from discrimination. And I think that's just a great way to sum that up. Next case study will be from the British School of Brussels, and this is from their Science Week, which followed on from the Practical Action Solar Challenge project that they did within their school as well. So just read out what they've sent in about their approach to the teaching. Our learning about solar energy was embedded in the SDGs as we considered how energy and lack of access to it affects life in developing communities across the world. We also talked about the need for renewable, sustainable, affordable energy across the whole world and how climate, life on land and in the water are affected, and also how health and education rely on access to energy. The photo below shows them making links between the goals, especially thinking about how affordable clean energy relates to each and every of the 17 SDG goals. And I think given everything that's been going on around the world within the UK with energy right now, this probably really hits home and makes you realize how important it is to have access to renewable, affordable energy to reduce, you know, the impact of volatilities on on the economy. For example, everything that's been going on with energy of late. I think it says here, the children's learning was focused on practically applying the science of solar cells to tackle real world issues in real communities. Their creative ideas and their genuine wish to find good solutions for the challenges faced by being off-grid provided a great model for the future of education and learning. I think getting children really practically involved with stuff is going to help to shape the minds of the future that we need. So really well done to the British School of Brussels. Next case study is from Chesterfield College from their Sustainability Exhibition Fair. Their approach was that students from all over the college worked together to develop some amazing projects, such as repaired mobility scooters, rainwater harvesting, and materials developed to educate children about looking after the environment and looking after hedgehogs. It says a quote here, "I was so impressed by their enthusiasm and how they presented their projects. An absolutely fantastic idea by the college." And yes, I think this is a great idea, great way to sort of give students autonomy, put the work in their hands and let them sort of be creative and be solution bringers, problem solvers. And it also is a great way to incorporate so many of the different goals. So huge well done to Chesterfield College and their students. This next case study comes from Dundee and Angus College and from their Foundation Apprentice in Business Skills. So it says, the purpose of this unit is to develop learners' understanding of contemporary business issues through investigation of small and medium enterprises and the business strategies appropriate for SMEs at different stages of the business life cycle. All businesses journey through a life cycle, but may deal differently with the stages of that life cycle. This unit will therefore examine the increasing complexity facing businesses at different stages of the life cycle and how priorities, objectives, and functional activity may affect their operation. So their approach was basically linking in the mission, the values, the vision of businesses and their life cycles with 3 of the SDG goals, which is number 8, number 9, and number 12. I think it's just really important to show how even within something that is so set as like a business's life cycle, we still need to examine and bring in the SDGs because different complexities that businesses face will tie into the different SDGs. So really important lens there. Well done, Dundee and Angus College. And then we've got this case study from Keele University, which is from their International Corporate Governance and Sustainability module. So the module itself introduces key concepts of international corporate governance and sustainability, theoretical approaches of explaining governance and sustainability practices, and mechanisms of implementing and managing corporate governance and sustainability activities. So for teaching this module to their master's students, it says, I am adopting teaching by real business examples approach, which links the theoretical knowledge of the governance and sustainability topics to the actual, sorry, what's just happened to my screen? To the actual business practices in our class. We are discussing different business examples, both good and poor sustainability performance. So I think linking in all of the SDG teaching goals into that class and just kind of showing learners how to take green actions and decisions within the module, I think is a great way to highlight the difference between real action and greenwashing and how businesses can use greenwashing strategies instead. So really great way to kind of really show a more in-depth approach to incorporating the SDG teaching. So well done to Keele University and their master's students. And I think this might be the final case study, but yeah, this is from West Lothian College and it's cross-faculty, and they were looking at the SDG teachings, all of them through the 17 goals in their level 4 to level 8 childhood practice, and also level 4 and 5 professional cookery, level 6 business, uniform public services, and applied social science HNC. So really, really broad reach there. So it said they ran a week-long SDG teaching, and over the week they welcomed 554 primary school children to share in an incredible 37 different workshops that captured all of the SDG goals. And I think that's already in itself such a great reach to younger students as well, who might not naturally be exposed to work on sustainability or the SDGs. So really, really good approach here. The workshops were facilitated by 210 students and a number of staff from across different faculties. So again, a great way to give students autonomy and that power to take action and be solutions or pushers. So yeah, really well done. And they had some external partners in there as well. And the experience of just supporting the event allowed all the students to achieve assessments and valuable experience of developing their knowledge in sustainability and the application to practice and their course and subject. So really fantastic work there. Great way to let students be leaders and solution bringers. So yeah, really, really, really well done to West Lothian College and their students. I'm going to hand back over to Mel.
Great, thanks so much, Beatrice. And this is just a reminder to please share your case studies with us by filling in. We'll be sending out in a follow-up to this, but we've got a case study template that you can fill in, and we'll be including those within the report and within kind of any other comms we do around the teaching this year. So please do that if you haven't already. And for those of you who have, but we didn't touch on it here, those case studies will all be in the report. So thank you so much for those who have done that already. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Sonia to talk a bit more about SOS-UK support for education and embedding sustainability into learning and teaching. Thanks, Sonia.
Thanks, Mel, and hi, everyone. Really nice to see familiar names and faces from colleagues who've been taking part for a number of years, as well as new colleagues. So yeah, really interesting to see the way the campaign changes year on year. So the idea of the SDG Teach In is to sort of create a initial step or an entryway into engaging with sustainability. And what we want to do now is sort of explore other ways or further ways that you can progress the work that you're doing so far or enhance the work that you're doing so far with our support. So I'll just go over a number of our different education programs, and feel free to get in touch with us if anything interests you or if you'd like to learn more about any of the work we do. Most of the work we do is quite flexible. We appreciate that colleges and universities work quite differently, and even, you know, amongst colleges there's a lot of variation, amongst universities there's a lot of variation, so we're able to sort of adapt the work that we do to better suit your context. So as I mentioned, the Teach In is a sort of entryway to engaging with sustainability, or a way to catalyze change and to mobilize educators, but we need to be delivering education for sustainable development all year round, not just 1 month of the year. So we run a number of campaigns, programs, workshops, consultancy to support staff and students to lead on and learn for sustainability within the education sector. And that's supporting staff and students oftentimes to work together as well in partnership and in co-creation. So on the screen, we just have two bits of our work. So the first one is Teach the Future. Teach the Future is a student-led campaign that lobbies and works with government to restructure education systems for the climate emergency. There's branches across the UK in Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and it's very much focused on that youth voice and that student leadership. So if you are working with any students, or if you want to sort of play a role in another context, do get in touch about Teach the Future. If you visit our website as well, we have information on recent updates. We had a parliamentary reception in Scotland and Edinburgh in March, which was really lovely. So do sort of follow that work. Our Learning Academy is on the right-hand side of our screen, and that's where we offer workshops, trainings, consultancy. We have a range of different types of trainings and workshops, including Introduction to Climate Education, Embedding Sustainability in Learning, Decolonizing and Decarbonizing Education. So lots of different types of trainings on embedding ESD in teaching and learning through a variety of different approaches and methods. And these trainings and workshops are open to students and staff, as well as to both students and staff together to facilitate conversation between educators and learners. As well as carbon literacy training as well. That's part of the Learning Academy. Next slide, please, Mel. So Responsible Futures is one of our biggest education-focused programs. It is a supported change program for a whole institution approach to embedding sustainability across all student learning. So the program's been running since 2014, and we've worked with 35 colleges and universities across the UK, reaching 600,000 students. So really exciting. Next year is our 10-year anniversary of the program. So I'm really looking forward to that. The way Responsible Futures works is we partner an institution with their students. Oftentimes this might look like the Students' Union or a student group. And we provide them with a framework of good practice to engage with in order to embed sustainability in learning. So the framework consists of 50 criteria that have been agreed upon by the sector that support change across all levels of an institution, top down, middle out, and bottom up, and facilitate that whole institution approach. So it's criteria that students and educators and professional staff can all sort of engage with and work on. And ultimately, the Responsible Futures program or engagement with the framework is audited by students from your institution. So we come in and we train your students to gauge over a 2-day audit how you've been engaging with the criteria. And that just provides a really helpful mechanism for student voice and student leadership. The results of the audit often determine whether or not an institution becomes a Responsible Futures accredited institution. And Responsible Futures is signposted in a number of sector resources, so the HE Toolkit for Climate Action, as well as the FE Roadmap for Climate Action. So if you do want to have chats about the program, do get in touch. I'm more than happy to share more information. Next slide, please. We also work on ESD Changemakers. So ESD Changemakers is a program where we partner students with academic partners in aligned disciplines. So we work with students, for example, in computer science, and partner them with educators in computer science to co-create approaches to embedding sustainability in learning, to specifically ESD in learning through our support. So this past year, we worked with the University of Hull. There were students in computer science, zoology, criminology, international relations, and history, and we partner them with academic partners to embed sustainability in learning. The work that they did began first with a curriculum mapping exercise where they gauged the extent in which the sustainable development goals and other sustainability criteria were embedded in their courses, and then they found challenges to sort of overcome in co-creation with academic partners. And we actually just had the final event last month at the University of Hull, and I'm working on creating a blog to sort of summarize findings and student experiences. But it was a really lovely way for students to, again, in partnership, co-create approaches to ESD. And I think importantly as well to really consider the role of their discipline in thinking about sustainability and solving sustainability challenges. Next slide, please. Oh, right. And then, sorry, previous slide. We also offer, I think, Sasha, you mentioned this, curriculum mapping support. So we have a student-led sustainability curriculum mapping program. We use two different methodologies, one of which involves using evidence from modules and courses. The other is mapping student experience of teaching and learning. But the general idea is that we work with students to map in a student-led methodology the extent in which the SDGs and other sustainability criteria are embedded into teaching and learning. And this program is really flexible, so we're able to sort of adapt different areas of support and elements of support. We're often even able to adapt methodology and the criteria to make it, as fit for purpose as possible. So yeah, I would encourage you to take a look and see if any of these areas or elements of support can help you to progress the work that you've started or progress by taking part in the SDG Teach In. And I think there's links to all of it in the slides, which we'll be able to share with you afterwards. Great, so I'll stick around, so if anyone has questions in the chat, feel free to share them and I'll be able to answer. Thanks, Mel.
Great, thanks so much, Sonia. So we're going to move on to do a bit of a reflection now. So first we're just going to do a general one to start us thinking using, not using Slido because it's not working. But before we go on to this slide with the discussion in breakout rooms, I just want you to reflect on like what went well this year for you. So if you were involved as an educator, if you were kind of mobilizing educators, in the chat, I want you to share one thing that went really well for you or one thing that you were really pleased with. Great, so we've got some coming in. Thank you, Katie. So incorporating the SDGs into online learning, so thinking about how we can do it both in person and online. That interaction is very different when we're online, and how we can make sure that's meaningful is really important. Great, and so we've got working with library and student union staff, so potentially Jem there, that's working with different people and kind of bringing in different groups that might not usually be engaged with it, but or might not usually work together, but kind of doing that is a really powerful way. And then getting more staff involved, so getting more people, kind of feeling like more people understand what you're doing, and kind of the point behind it is really great, and seeing it not as an additional job but as something that kind of supports the work that's already being done. So that sounds really great. Linking all 17 of the SDGs as well, so how we think about how all of them are interconnected, and that can be a really useful thing. So great, that sounds like there's some really great things that went well, and please do continue typing if you are. We're gonna move into breakout rooms now. So Rajneet is going to help me set up some breakout rooms just for some groups to reflect for 10 minutes on these 3 questions. Rajneet will also share a link in the chat. So it's a Jamboard link that she's just shared in the chat. if you click on that, you can record some of your thoughts from your breakout rooms, although there's absolutely no pressure to. If you're having a really rich conversation and it's feeling nicer to just kind of talk freely, then feel free to do that. But if you want a space to record thoughts that you can go back to later, then please do use that Jamboard. So the 3 questions are: who was involved and how did this improve the take up of the Teach In? What would you do differently next year to increase the number of educators pledging and students reached at your institution? And do you have any practical ideas to embed the SDGs for next year based on the case studies and examples you've seen in this webinar? And elsewhere as well. It might be that a colleague did something that you thought was really good. So please do feel free to speak wider than these questions. The Jamboard also has the questions on if you want to see them before as well whilst you're in your groups. And when Rajneet's ready, we'll open the breakout rooms. We'll be in the main room, so please do just come back if there are any issues, and we'll regroup in 10 minutes.
Okay, breakout rooms, I'll be opening them now.
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully that was useful. We've got a couple of minutes if anyone does want to feedback anything they were discussing in their group that they think would be useful to share.
I don't mind sharing something.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, we were just talking about obviously what we've all been doing. For me, I'm not a teacher, but I'm a digital learning advisor. So lecturers give me the content and I digitalise it. And I've been trying to add in the SDGs that way, contextualising it where possible to make it relevant to the vocational area. And then obviously adding in some of the things that are, you know, quite broad that can cover any, you know, all courses really. So and the plan for next year really just getting hopefully in the planning stage, getting the lecturers to incorporate it more as well, to make it a bit more, you know, automatic and just to link it into what they're doing each week of their online learning.
That's great, thank you. Anybody else want to share? No pressure if you don't want to.
Hi, sorry, it's Julie. I was just going to add to what Katie said there and just really blow trumpet a little bit. And the work that Katie and the rest of her team have done has been huge for us. And it's meant that every learner in our 16 to 19 study programme has had some kind of content linked to SDGs. So that what we call our Elements programme, which is our online independent learning. So it's been really, really successful. I'm sure Katie will be able to send over some examples for you.
That would be brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, great to be sharing all of these as well, because there's so many people in similar situations that could be embedding some of the things that you've all done this year. Thank you very much. Now, just before we end, for those that are leaving, thank you so much for coming. Just before we end, we're just going to go through a couple of dates for your diary. So we We'll be launching the report of this year's Teach In the coming weeks, and we will email everyone that signed up to attend this webinar, so you should get that sent to you along with the recording of the webinar and any resources, but it will also be on our website. And then finally, we'll be running the SDG Teach In throughout the weeks in March next year. So in 2024, we'll be doing the same thing for a month long in March, and we'll be opening that in the autumn, and we'll again send emails to everyone who pledged this year and also attended the webinar. So really looking forward to working with you all again next year, and to you all seeing the report and hopefully your brilliant examples in there. Are there any questions? Great. Okay. If there are any, please use the chat. And finally, just to say, here's Sonia and I's emails. So please do send us an email if there's anything you want to know more about from today's webinar, or have any questions. And just a big thanks for coming along and engaging with the webinar. And we look forward to hearing about all your brilliant work over the next year as well. Thank you.